Good morning students. Welcome to JKRB online classes. I am your computer teacher and today we discuss about our second chapter which is computer memory. So what is computer memory and how it works, means what is the work of computer memory? Computer memory is like human brain. Like in our brain we store so many things, like what we study, that things are stored in our brain only. Like the computer memory is also like human brain. It used to store the data and instructions, means computer used to store its data and informations in the computer memory. A memory is the storage device, storage space in the computer where data is to processed and instructions required to processing are stored. Means what the informations computer required for processing, that all the data are stored in the computer memory. So there are two categories of computer memory, that is one is volatile and second one is non-volatile. So these both are the categories of computer memory, and what is volatile and what is non-volatile memory. So volatile means when we switch off the computer, all the data are erased, and in non-volatile, when we switch on, in non-volatile the memory does not erase when the system is off. Means when we are typing something in Word or Excel, if we don't set that and the computer will off, then the document is erased, and in non-volatile memory that all the documents doesn't erase and it is by defaultly stored in computer memory. So this is two types of computer memory, and the next one is representation of memory. So what is representation of memory? The memory is represented with characters. So there are some characters in memory which are represented the memories. So first one is byte. So what is byte? A byte is a smallest group of information that a computer can process. Means the bit in a byte are processed together, and more important, the byte is presented to us in inform what we understand, and each can be encoded to correspond to a digit, a letter of an alphabet, that is called byte, and the next one is kilobyte. So 1 kilobyte is 1024 byte, and it is equal to one page of a textbook, and the next one is megabyte. And 1 megabyte is 2 kilobyte, means 1024 into 1024 byte is equal to 1 megabyte. That is this is 1 megabyte. 1 kilobyte is 1024 byte and 1 megabyte is gigabyte, after gigabyte, terabyte and petabyte. So one gigabyte is 3 kilobyte, means we have to multiply 1024 3 times. That result is 1 gigabyte. And in terabyte, is 4 times we have to multiply 1024, means 4 kilobyte is 1 terabyte. And petabyte is 1 petabyte is 5 times we have to multiply 1024, means 5 kilobyte is 1 petabyte. So kilobyte is also known as KB, megabyte is also known as MB, gigabyte GB, terabyte TB, and petabyte PB. And we all know this MB and GB, because when we are recharge a net pack, that is we are taking the 1 GB or 2 GB, that is gigabyte. And you also know this some words are there after that, types of memory. There are 3 types of memories are there. One is cache memory, another is primary memory, and last one is secondary memory. So memory is divided into 3 types. One is cache memory, another is primary memory, and last one is secondary memory. And primary memory is again divided into 2 types. One is RAM and another is ROM. These 2 types. One is RAM, another is ROM. Like this, secondary memory is also divided into 3 types. One is floppy disk, another is CD-ROM, and last one is hard disk. So secondary memory is divided into 3 types. First one is floppy disk. Floppy disk. Second one is CD-ROM. Last one is hard disk. First we discuss about what is cache memory. So memory is divided into 3 types. First one is cache memory, second is primary memory, and last one is secondary memory. Again, primary memory is divided into 2 types. One is RAM, another is ROM. And secondary memory is divided into 3 types. one is floppy disk, another is CD-ROM, and last one is hard disk. So first we will discuss about cache memory, and we will do. So it is a very speed semiconductor memory which can speed up CPU. Means cache memory can speed up the CPU. Because of cache memory, CPU can speedily work and speedily process the data. So it acts as a buffer between the CPU and main memory. It is a buffer between CPU and main memory. It used to hold those parts of data on programs which are most frequently used by CPU, whose data and informations are mostly used in CPU, that all the data can hold in cache memory. The parts of data and programs are transferred from disk to cache memory by operating system. By the help of operating system, we can transfer all the data from CPU to cache memory, where we can access in CPU. Means that transport data we can access by the help of cache memory in CPU. So the next one is primary memory. So what is primary memory? Primary memory is the memory that can be directly accessed by the CPU. Means CPU can directly access the memory in primary memory. CPU constantly interacts with it, retrieves data stored there, goes through instructions and execute them as per the requirement. By the help of primary memory, CPU can constantly interacts with the data and retrieves the data, stores the data and goes through the instructions and executes them as per the requirements. And next, the type of primary memory. There are two types of primary memory. One is RAM and another is ROM. RAM stands for Random Access Memory. RAM stands for ROM stands for Read Only Memory. RAM stands for Random Access Memory and ROM stands for Read Only Memory. Now we discuss about RAM. So what is RAM and how it will work? It is a form of computer memory that can be processed and changed in any order, basically used to working data and machine codes. Means now we know what is RAM stands for Random Access Memory. So it can work randomly. It is a form of computer memory that can be represent and change in any order. Means when we are giving some order to the computer, it can change by the through of random access memory and basically used to working data and machine codes. RAM generally doesn't operate at optimum speed. Means it cannot operate at optimum speed. Some of the common types of RAM are there, like DRAM, first we discuss about DRAM. DRAM stands for Dynamic Random Access Memory. DRAM stands for Dynamic DRAM stands for Dynamic Random Access Memory. It needs to be refreshed constantly and contains memory cells with the paired transistors. Means Dynamic random access memory referred consistently and contains memory cells with a pair transistor. So in order to active the transistor, at each bit in the column, DRAM sends a change through the appropriate columns, that is called CAS. CAS stands for, means first we know what is CAS. Means DRAM means dynamic random access memory sends a change through the appropriate columns, that is called CAS. CAS stands for column address stroke. CAS stands for stands for column address stroke. The level of charge is determined by the sense amplifier while reading. Means while reading we need a amplifier that is charged and determined of DRAM, means dynamic random access memory. If the level of charge exists 50%, it is read as 1, whereas if the charge is below 50%, it is read as 0. Means when it reads as 50, means it is excess of 50%, then it reads as 1, and when it charges below 50%, it reads 0. So the next one is SRAM. The next one is SRAM. So what is SRAM? SRAM stands for static random access memory. It stands for SRAM stands for static random access memory. It is used primarily to create CPU's speed sensitive cache. It is basically used for speed of the computer, means speed of the CPU. It uses multiple transistors for each memory cell. It used for this process. It is used multiple transistors, and it doesn't have a capacitor in each cell, and it doesn't have any capacitor in each cell. As compared to DRAM, SRAM has more parts, and therefore in SRAM as compared to DRAM, it has more parts, so consumes a lot more space on a chip. Means because it has more parts as compared to DRAM, for that it stores more chips and it has more space. The next one is HDRAM. So what is now HDRAM? Synchronous dynamic random access memory. So HDRAM stands for synchronous dynamic random access memory. It is any dynamic random access memory which is access memory where the operation of its external pin interface is coordinated by an externally supplied clock wave. Means synchronized dynamic access memory is any dynamic random memory which is access memory where the operation of its external pin interface is coordinated. FPM DRAM stands for fast paced mode dynamic random access memory. It waits through the process of locating a bit of data by column and row and then reading the bit and then starts on the next bit. Means fast paced mode, what it will do, it will read the access memory bit by bit, and after that it can start the processing. So the next one is EDO DRAM. Extended data out dynamic random access memory. It stands for extended data out dynamic random memory. So what it will do? It doesn't wait as the address of the first bit is located. It starts looking for the next bit. Means it doesn't wait for anything, and it address the first bit. When the first bit is located, it again started it again looking for the next bit to be started. So it is the work of EDO DRAM. The next one is RDRAM. So RDRAM stands for Rambus Dynamic Random Access Memory. It stands for Rambus Dynamic It generates more heat than other chips as they operate at high speeds. Means when we use RDRAM as a high speed, it generates more heats. So basically we are not using this. After that, DDR SD RAM. DDR SD RAM. It stands for Double Data Rate Synchronous Dynamic Random Access Memory. It stands for Double Data Rate It is somewhat similar to SDRAM but has higher bandwidth. It is almost similar to SDRAM and it has a higher bandwidth. This is all about the RAM. So you have to remember all the name means what stands for what. After that we will discuss about ROM. So it stands for read-only memory. Means here we can only, it gives the access to only read, means user can only read the information. So here data stores in ROM is non-volatile and it is not lost when powered off. So students, when we started the chapter, we know what is volatile and what is non-volatile. Non-volatile means when the power off, the data will not erased. So the data stored in ROM is non-volatile and is not lost when powered off. These data cannot be changed and special operation is needed to perform to change it. Means it cannot be changed. If you want to change that, special operation to perform or change the data. So ROM chips are different from RAM, and a ROM chip cannot be reprogrammed or rewritten. Therefore, when the chip is created, it requires the perfect programming with complete information. Means we cannot be change the chip, or we cannot change the program what is already written. So we have to. So it's required a perfect programming with a complete information, because we cannot change after the programming is done. We cannot be able to change that things. So ROM chips are cost effective and use less power. So we are using basically ROM because it is cost effective, means it is not very expensive, and it use less power, and it is consume less power. So there are some common types of ROMs are there, like PROM. First one is PROM. So PROM stands for Programmable Read-Only Memory. PROM stands for Programmable Read-Only Memory. These chips are non-volatile and cannot be stored sometimes else once it has been used. Means it is also a non-volatile chip, and we can it sometimes else it has been used. Blank PROM chips can be coded with the help of a tool known as programmer. Means by the help of programmer, we can code it with a blank PROM. Means blank programmable read-only memory. We can code it by the help of programmer. So the next one is EPROM. So EPROM stands for Erasable Programmable Read-Only Memory. It stands for erasable. It can be erased with the help of ultraviolet light and rewritten many times. In its name also it is erasable. Means we can erase the data by the help of ultraviolet light and rewritten many times. Means we can erase something by the help of ultraviolet light, and we can rewritten many times. So these chips are configured by the EPROM programmer. It is also configured by the help of EPROM programmer. It is providing the voltage at the specified level, and the floating gates is linked to a row through the control gates. By the help of control gates, the floating gate is linked to the row. After that, a blank EPROM chips have a value of 1. Each cell of these bolts have all the gates open completely. Means it has to open completely. The next one is double EPROM. So double EPROM stands for Electrically Erasable Programmable Read-Only Memory. It stands for electrically in this the chips are no required to be removed, to be erased or rewritten. These chips do not require to be erased altogether, and specific portion of it can be easily altered. Means here we don't have to erase all the things, only we can easily alter the data. Additional dedicated equipment are also chips. The chips are erased and rewritten with the help of electric chips. Means by the help of electric chips, we can erase the data. So this all about primary memory. Now we discuss about secondary memory. So now we learn about secondary memory. So what is secondary memory? Secondary memory is also known as secondary storage. It is the slower and cheaper from the memory. Means it works slowly as compared to memory, and it is also it is very cheap. CPU does not access the secondary memory directly, and CPU does not access the secondary memory directly. It contains in its most fast to copy it into a primary storage RAM for CPU to process. So in CPU doesn't access anything from secondary memory directly. For this, the CPU have to store the information or copy the information in primary storage RAM for CPU to process. After that, the secondary memory devices can store the information. Secondary memory devices including hard disk, floppy disks, CD-ROMs and CDs. What are the hard disk, floppy disk, CDs and CD-ROM. So now we discuss about types of secondary memory. There are some types of secondary memories are there. The first one is magnetic tap. So what is magnetic tap and how it used in secondary memory? A magnetic tap has been in use for more than 50 years. Means still 50 years. The magnetic taps are used in secondary memory. Modern magnetic tap is packaged and cast in and used for storing data backups, particularly in corporate settings. Means magnetic tap is basically used in corporate settings, and it is stored the data backups, and it stores the data backup. The average amount of storage is 5 MB to 150 MB. The average of storage this data is 5 MB to 140 MB. So students, MB stands for what? Megabyte. So it stores the data 5 megabyte to 140 megabyte for every standard length, which is 2400 feet. So this is the magnetic tape. It is basically used in corporate settings, and it stores the data backups, and the average of amount of storage is 5 MB to 140 MB, which is 2400 feet. The next one is hard disk. The next one is hard disk. Hard disk is a thin circular metallic plate coated on both sides with a magnetic oxide material. So hard disk is a circular metallic plate coated on both sides a magnetic oxide material. So it is the material in which the hard disk is prepared. It is non-removable storage device. We cannot remove any data from hard disk. Means we can store all the things on that, and it will not erasable automatically. So all each circular division of this surface is known as track. Vertically or horizontally division of a disk surface is called as sector and known as a block. So these all things means track, sector and block. All things are in between that hard disk, and we have to store all the documents or all the informations we can store in hard disk also, and it will not erasable by itself. Multiple commandly used to store a single file is known as cluster. Hard disk can store huge amount of data, and it is safe from dust. We can save our so many things in that. It stores a huge information, and all the data are safe here. Information is stored on the disk surface in the form of individual magnetic spots. So here we can store all the documents and all the information. It is very used. The next one is floppy disk. So now we discuss about floppy disk. So floppy disks are the storage medium made on a thin magnetic disk. Hard disks are built in an optimized magnetic disk, and floppy disks are storage medium, and it is made in a thin magnetic disk. It is widely used from the 90s to early 20s. It is used from 1970s to 20s, and the storage capacity ranged from the standard is 1.44 MB. The storage capacity 1.44 MB to 200 MB. Means in floppy disk, it is made by a thin magnetic disk, and it is used from 1970s to 2020s, and it stores the data from 1.44 MB to 200 MB. So the next one is CD-ROM. So what is CD-ROM and how it is worked in secondary memory? So CD-ROM is a type of recordable CD. It is an optical secondary storage device invented by Sony and Philips. Means CD-ROM is invented by Sony and by Philips. It is also known as write once, read many medium. Known as or write only, write once and read many. So here it means write once and read many means we can write here once and read it for many times. So the next one is DVD-ROM. So what is DVD-ROM? DVD-ROM is a type of recordable DVD. It is a storage capacity of usually 4.1 GB. DVD-ROM is a recordable DVD, and it has a storage capacity of usually 4.1 GB. There is also an 8.54 GB dual layer version called DVD-RDL. DVD-RDL. DVD-RDL is a dual layer version of DVD-ROM, and it has a store capacity of 8.54 It is type of flash memory storage device that plugs into computer's USB port, and this is the flash drives are more expensive than hard drives with the same storage capacity. Means USB drives means we are using pen drive the most. How we can connect the pen drive to the computer? In computer there is a USB port, and in USB port we are connecting that pen drive in that, and we can transfer the data and we can store some memory in that pen drive. So example of USB drives are pen drives, and we can store the data in that. And this is also same as hard disk. Like hard disk also